2 years. I had all 9 there last night. Because my secretary, Michael Simons, who any of the officers. But, that's one thing. And the other thing we talked about last night, because I haven't been able really to have a full meeting with over 5 or 6 there, was in our bylaws, it talks about service terms. And I had been telling my board members that it's written in our bylaws, we are on a 2-year term, and the commission reapproves or whatever. It was their wish last night, if it's not a problem, for all of us to go on a 4-year term and start over January 1st, and then the commission reappropriate at that point instead of 2. So they want to change the bylaws. If that's not a problem for anybody, I suggested that half of us do 2, the other half, they didn't want to go for it, so they wanted it to be all of us on 4. So whatever y'all's thoughts are on that.
Mr. Chairman, I don't know, I mean, board to the side, but there's some continuity in there when you have staggered terms.
So I can go back to the next month, and we can try to do half and half, or 2 and 2. Does that sound right?
Oh, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Anna and the mayor are working on, and Anna, you have to update me on, there's a computer program where we can put everybody in.
Mhm.
And so somebody, and Anna, correct me if I'm wrong, somebody goes in at 1 year, somebody goes in at 2 year, and then it'll spit out for the mayor every January then who needs to be renewed, so that we're not shuffling papers and trying to figure this out. So I guess I asked to let the mayor's office
Yeah,
figure
y'all
out
just let
how
me
they're
know how
gonna
y'all
do
want to
that.
handle that. But I've never been to meet with them to go over this for the last, like I said to you, because you don't want to do something like this with 6 there or 5. You need 8, and last night I had all 9, that's why we brought it up. Would y'all want to do it 2? Would you want to do 4? Then I can take it back to the next month. Y'all just let me know how you want to do it.
Other boards are struggling with that too, but I think the clause in there says you continue to serve till you're reappointed. So if we have missed the date, they can continue to serve.
I don't think we've done this. I've been on there 10 years, and I don't remember us ever going by the term thing. And this guy's been on there 20.
We'll look at it.
So just however y'all want to do it, let us know. I can take it back to them next month.
Any other questions?
Anybody to serve on these things, we don't pay, so.
And to get them to come. And once you get a good board member that really comes and cares, it's hard, because we've done it the other way. We go get Joe Blow over here who says, well, I want to do it, and they never come to the meeting. Where you at? And that's happened up with us a lot of times in the last 10 years I've been on there, where we put people on there and they never came to a meeting. That's happened more than once. So when you get a good one, or people that are interested in donating their time, it's hard to go the other way on too.
Yeah.
Okay, any other questions or discussion? Okay, then we'll get into new business. The first one is broadband. Commissioner Vick.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I think the mayor's going to go into this in a little more detail in just a minute, but as we've talked about, there is going to be a new round of rural broadband grants that are going to be going out. February 18th is our letter of support. I think the mayor will go into that if you'd like to, or you'll be. What we've done is we have to have with our application as many letters of support as we can. After the meeting today, Ms. Fraser will send to you an email that has a copy of a form letter that you can play with, dissect, change, modify, delete, whatever. But if you want to sign that, we need to get it back to the mayor's office. It's got to be there by Thursday because the 19th is the deadline. So we need this letter from every single commissioner. And if you're on a board, for instance, Bill's board, if he could get someone from his board to sign that, if your board or somebody from Ross could do that, or anybody, Shane Hooper's office can do that. Anybody we need to solicit as much support on this application because it's very competitive, and they're going to weigh these by who is not so much demand, but who is really backing this, and who's supporting it, and why it's important. So that's critical. That's February 18th, and the mayor has been working on this, and I've been working on this. Our grant deadline then becomes the 28th. There is a completeness review deadline on March 14th. The application due date is March 15th. The grants will be awarded in June. So that's where we are. We've looked at a number of scenarios. We just don't know how much we're going to get. We don't know because it's going to be very competitive. We hope to get a large grant, but we just don't know. And so I know the mayor and I have sat through a number of meetings, and thank you, Mr. Mayor, for your leadership on this broadband, because it has meant a lot to what we're trying to accomplish here. And through your efforts, we've gotten this far. And so We just need to push this ball a little further, so it's critical. So I'm begging you, please, when you get this letter, get it back to us so we can get this in the hopper and Anna can get it forwarded to United. So, that's kind of where we're, if anybody has any questions about broadband, I'll be glad to answer them. That's where we are.
So Commissioner Smith, this is with United Telephone.
United Telephone
Okay.
is now owned 50% by Middle Tennessee Electric, and because of that connection there, they have now brought in Duck River Electric as a partner with them. So our local cooperative is working with us on this, and they are really helping us out, because they are, go ahead.
Oh, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but.
Well, they've
I want you
allowed
to
the
forget me.
broadband usage for
Is,
poles.
is this broadband buried, or is it on the Duck River line?
It's on Duck River lines, it's fiber we're talking about.
And are they looking at need, which you know I'm needy,
I know it.
and are they looking at, density, are they looking at, any of the others? Did they say what their,
Yes.
what is their?
They are looking at a ability to receive a signal that amounts to less than 1 bar, and that's considered a need. There are a number of locations like that. Then they have to match that up to a census tract. That's why it's so complicated to try to figure out where the lesser service is, but then you gotta have enough people to put it in there. But what we think, and what, in our conversations, go ahead, Mr. Mayor.
No, well, I was just gonna say, this is, first of all, this opportunity to do the broadband is all tied to those ARP funds you've heard about and some of these federal and state grants. So we're not really talking about leaning in on actually our tax rate to be able to do this. So this is an opportunity to get it, which makes a lot of sense. Like he said, they have a comprehensive, grant process or model that they're putting forward that would touch every area that Tennessee and the federal, census tract says are the areas that are deprived or not adequate. Now, it's in pockets and pieces. It's scattered all over the county. A lot of it is toward the edges. What is beyond, just this that will be helpful in the future is if they can get out to the end of the county, they're already in the county, it's gonna be easier to come back toward their main system to rapidly bring broadband to some of the areas where it's been so expensive to try to get out to somebody's point. So there's points out there that are even in y'all's areas that will hit, but there's rules it's not our decision or United's to say, this is where we want to put it. It's got to be driven by those federal guidelines. But the way this thing looks, the map that I've seen so far, it has some scattered areas of wheel everywhere. It's just small pockets of it, but putting that in place will then make it much easier for them to go out beyond that or come back towards town and close the gap on this going forward. So I really do think this makes a lot of sense to do it. They're gonna touch every one of the areas. If they get the grant, they will address every one of the areas in Bedford. Now, this is rural that meets the state and federal guidelines for service to be done through grants. You follow what I'm saying? That doesn't mean it's gonna touch every household, but it will get it in pockets where it would probably another 10 or 15 years before you even got even a cluster in some of these areas. So it will do that for us. It'll connect the dots. As he said, Duck River is involved. So I think there's I understand it more of a combination where it's appropriate to run on a pole, it'll be on a pole in areas where maybe there could be some Wi-Fi to get them going in some areas, that'll be, but the ultimate is, it'll all be fiber, and the ultimate is for it to be in the ground. But this will kind of jumpstart their ability to get in these different areas. So we think it makes a lot of sense. Again, it lines up with the ARP funds, which is what the federal and state government set out in advance for those funds to go toward, or a bulk of those funds to go toward. So
But we don't want
it meets
everybody
that.
thinking that everybody in the county is gonna have it once. We can't, it just won't work that way, because that's not the way the
And we don't
grant's
get
set
to
up.
pick. I mean,
They
it
just
has
tell
to
us.
meet those guidelines.
Can the form be filled out and scanned and sent to Anna? Would that be acceptable, or does it need to be a written?
Oh, no, yes, I would sign it and scan it. That's exactly what I
That's
would
it.
just, scan back.
Or we'll come get it. I mean, any of you that can do it, I
Yeah.
mean, we'll work with you.
We just need everybody to send this letter. We need 100 letters from schools, businesses, and commissioners, and family, and people that are touched. I sent Dr. Garrett to get to the teachers, the principals, and the faculty and staff there. So, and our emergency people, we gotta have your help on that as well. So that's all I got.
So all we can do is print it off, sign it.
Yep.
Carry it up there and hand it, right? That's all we gotta do.
Scan it and email it to her.
Get it done.
We'll come-
Any other questions, discussion? You know, the next item is school funding BEP.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, thank you. The the legislature, the governor has proposed a new funding formula for schools. The Better Education Program has not been modified or changed in 20 years. And so I've had a good conversation with several people on the House and Senate education side on how they're going to change this funding formula around. Right now, they're trying to determine how to do that. They are negotiating. The governor has a plan, is going to put like $1 billion into this whole structured plan. It's a huge fundamental change after 20 years, but they still don't have it in place yet. I'm following that. It's critical for us because we need to know where all this is going to fall out on our side on the fund, as a funding source on this. So we are monitoring that closely, and we probably won't know anything until the 1st of March how the plan's going to shape out when the General Assembly begins to unwind all of these. But right now, just know that there is a new funding formula, and it's very important that we get this because the way it was done is outdated, and we need to change it for counties like us who have specific needs. So that's all I have, Mr. Chairman. Any questions, I'll be glad to answer.
Is there any, talk of helping with infrastructure?
Not
Or is
under
this
the
strictly
BPP. This,
BEP? I mean, it's
this is
strictly
strictly payment to the counties for education, for salary structure, but no solid ground infrastructure.
Any other questions? Okay, the next, item is resolution 2214, I think it's authorizing, endorsing actions necessary. Project Cardinal's location in the 231 North Business Park.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, thank you. Shane Hooper is here tonight. He would like to explain, but I think this resolution is just a restatement of what we had done earlier that authorized and directs the project documents to be signed there. And I think Mr. Hooper on Project Cardinal outlined Project Cardinal in our last meeting. But this, under bond counsel's request, this just reaffirms our previous action, and that's why we're bringing it forward, unless Mr. Hooper has something different to add to that. And that's all we're doing, is just reaffirming to send this to the full commission, our previous actions.
Any other questions?
What is the Project Cardinal?
You'd have to ask Mr. Hooper.
Hey.
He's gonna ask Kelly. And then,
We are, first of all, I was gonna pass, so I apologize to, Commissioner Vick for turning down the opportunity to speak earlier, but since you asked the question, I think it's important to look at paragraph number 2, because I think this really goes back to some of the people in this room that have done a lot of work for us to be where we are today. Back when Bedford County and the city of Shelbyville came together and invested in an industrial park in order to attract, recruit business and industrial development to the community to provide additional employment opportunities for our citizens, promote new private sector capital investment in our community, and increase local tax revenues. I think there's people in this room that have done a tremendous amount of work to get us to where we are today. I can't go into a lot of the details, but what I can tell you is that we're at the point now where all we've got to do is put the bow on the package and hand it over. We are that close to being where we want to be. The efforts of a lot of people in this room are finally to fruition. We've got about one more step to go. This project, just to give you an idea of the caliber of project that we're talking about, when we were having discussions and when we were in the recruitment process with Project Cardinal, it became obvious to our workforce development coordinator, Kelly North, that we were in a position to provide recruitment, screening, and training for the employment needs that they would have. And one of the key things that I remember from the discussion with them is that they were interested to know if we had STEM graduates in the area, specifically if we had science, technology, engineering, and math doctorates in the area. That tells me that the kind of employee that they're looking for, some of them, not all of them, but some of them are going to be people that are going to be highly compensated and highly educated. And those are good things for our community. That's where we should strive to be. That's what we're all looking for. One of the other things that I think is noteworthy is that this is an advanced manufacturing project, and Brookings Institute will tell you that for every job that you bring in advanced manufacturing, you're looking at about a job multiplier somewhere around 2.4 jobs. So if you did the math on that, the jobs that will come from Project Cardinal will net us about another 380 jobs outside of Project Cardinal. One of the other things that I think is noteworthy is that if we're able to finish the recruitment of Project Cardinal, which I have confidence in, because at this point, it just depends on the ability of this team. Economic development is a team sport. It takes all of us to make things happen. But if we're able to finish this, Project Cardinal is investing enough money in our community to instantly be one of our top 3 advanced manufacturers in our community. And what that means is, I'll give you an idea, is that we have one of our top 3 right now that pays about $750,000 worth of taxes back to our community each year, and that's just county portion. So these types of projects have a great impact on our economy and our ability to provide services for the people of Bedford County, and I'm happy to be part of that process and happy to be part of making that happen here, and kudos to a lot of people in this room. And I don't mind saying it, because he's been there with me from day one. He walked 600 acres with me in the heat one day, and I'll never forget it. But Mayor Graham's been there with me every step of the way, as well as have some other people in this room. But we're almost there. We're almost there, and I'm happy to see this for the citizens of Bedford. You guys went out on a limb to make the investments that it took to put us in a position to be successful, and we're almost there.
So, Mr. Chairman, I would like to move that we approve this resolution and send it to the full commission.
Second?
So,
Okay, any other questions, discussion? All in favor say aye. All opposed? The next item is the Bedford County Agricultural Extension Committee appointment. Terry Smith, a dairy farmer from Unionville, 3rd District, a 2-year term replacing Don Curl.
Motion approved.
second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, any other business? Okay, we didn't, because the 2 people were absent, we probably need the record chair and assistant chair, vice chair for the rest of the year.
Move that Chairman Fair retain his chairmanship for another term.
I second.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, assistant chair, I was thinking about the assistant chair, but that's all right.
I'd like to make a motion, Mr. Castle, to serve as assistant chair.
Second.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, stay the same. I thought we did it together, but that's okay. Yeah, it worked out. It's great. Any other business?
I got one announcement if I could.
Okay. Yes, sir.
We were informed yesterday that we're going to have a total power outage on Friday in the courthouse proper. Now, it won't affect the annex or the merchants around the square, but the courthouse will be dark. And so we won't be able to operate from there. And then we're going to remotely do as much as we can. We're going to transfer phones. I'll be able to manage email. We'll still be, but that in the courthouse proper, which is the mayor's office, veteran services, HR. I believe that's all that's in there at the moment. Yeah, I forgot. Yeah, you're over there, John. He can certainly work remote, but we will be functioning, but we will not be in the building. It's a major switchover that they're having to do as part of the whole renovation
That'd be all
process.
day?
It'll be all day Saturday, Friday, and all day Saturday, but we're not there on Saturday. Right, and they're gonna be taking down, I think during that same time, I was told outside, they'll be taking down all those wires and digging out to put underground the power and the things that we've all been interested in, and this body has also supported making sure that all that will be unified in the way it looks and functions going forward, so that's good news.
Mayor, how long will it be before we're able to move our meetings back to the commission meetings back to the courthouse roughly?
Yeah, today we had a progress meeting, and I hope April 1st. That's April Fool's, right? So that's not a good one to bet on. But we do think we're tracking on a roll that would, if the rest of the stuff comes in, some of the big items that we're concerned about, they have gotten. Now they just got to get them installed. And so
Well, when we go back to me, one thing I do like, and I appreciate the high school letting us do it, but I like the fact we face the crowd in that auditorium. Are we gonna be able to do that in the courthouse this time?
You will be, yes and no. You will be facing each other, the crowd will be on your left and the,
45 degrees.
yeah.
Okay, but it won't be like it was before.
You know, your back will
We got
not
our
be to
backs
them.
to the
Right.
people, which
And
I
we,
didn't even look at them.
right, and we showed you guys the layout and stuff.
That's what Joe Tilley used to say. He got nervous a lot.
Yeah.
When his back
Yeah.
to him, he said,
Right. And
he would say that a lot.
Due to COVID, you all have your own individual desk,
Okay.
and the design currently is laid out, and if y'all wanna change this, now's the time, but we showed you in advance, and we didn't get any comments, but basically 9 would be over here, 9 would be over there, you'd be facing each other, the folks, the public would be here, and then the bench and everything that was always there will still be there. So you'll be in a position where you're able to see
Okay.
without having to
Gotcha.
torque yourself.
Okay.
But it'll also provide distancing. You all have individual sound where you can hear, you can dial your sound for what you're hearing and what you're saying. You all have devices. If you want to use them, you'll still be able to do the paper piece. That's where all this software we're talking about that we're developing now, it's in phases and we're trying to get everything loaded. So when we get there, that'll be hopefully a short learning curve.
All right, thank you.
Okay, announcements, we got, letters of support for broadband, which Commissioner Vick has gone over thoroughly, so don't forget those, and try to get those in, sometime the rest of the week to the county mayor's office. We got, the candidate nominating petitions are due in. I'm sure most of you are running, have probably already turned them in, but they're due in this Thursday, I believe, at 12 o'clock. So if you ain't got your, nominating petitions in, you need to get them into the election commission. And of course, got National Holiday President's Day is Monday, so we'll celebrate, I guess, Lincoln's and Washington's birthday on Monday. Any other announcements? Take a motion to adjourn?
Motion adjourned.
Okay.